Hello. I'm going to put on a little bit of music. All right. Hey guys. So, very similar format to our usual classes. I wanted to give you guys some time to work on some journaling prompts. And this could be if you have prompts that maybe are part of your training plan that you haven't gotten to, or maybe part of Lana's permission to rest course, if you're following along with that. Or maybe you just want to do like stream of consciousness, whatever comes to your mind, you write it down. Or if you have a certain journaling practice that you would like to do, you are more than welcome to take some time now to do that. If you need a little inspiration, I have some prompts for us. And these are coming from a book called The Confidence Gap. It's really similar to the book that Lana suggested we read called Rewire Your Brain for Love by Marsha Lucas. But it has similar concepts and similar meditations. And the journaling prompts are really eye-opening, or they just make you really identify with what your goals are, what your vision is, and how you can go about making meaningful changes to do that. So if you want to, you can already, start journaling, or if you want to hear some of the prompts to kind of kickstart your thoughts and visions, I have a couple here. So the first thought would be, in a world where you had unlimited confidence, how would you behave differently? How would you walk and talk? How would you play, work, and perform differently? How would you treat others? How would you treat yourself differently? What would you start or maybe stop doing? What goals would you set for yourself and work towards? What sorts of things would you start doing? What difference would your newfound confidence, all the confidence you would ever want, make in your closest relationships? How would you behave differently around those people? So if you're following along and doing the recording, I'm actually going to give us about 5 minutes to journal. So you'll just be watching me journaling too. Hopefully you're journaling as well. All right, guys, so that 5 minutes are up. If you're still journaling and you still have a lot of things that you want to write down or work through or think about, you are welcome to pause the video and keep going. But otherwise, today our breath work is going to focus on the concept of yawning and sighing. So it's going to be pretty fun. Usually for breath work, especially in your day-to-day life, especially if you work in an environment where you are physically near other people, there is a tendency to make yourself really quiet, to make yourself really small. And that also includes changing the way that you breathe. Just like when you're in a classroom or maybe listening to a lecturer or a speaker or a teacher, if they see you yawn or sigh, then that has kind of a negative connotation, or you may hold back your sighs or your yawns because you don't want to appear as rude towards the person who's like speaking or doing whatever. And same with like if you're working and your coworkers are around or something, there's a tendency not to want to make any noise so that you don't disturb another person or this or that. So for our breathwork session for today, we're going to have fun with the concept of allowing your body to express the breath physically and auditory. So using as much sound as you want and really having fun and exaggerating this. So I want you to shift your mindset from a concept of I'm going to do this breath work, and notice how even within that phrase it ends with work. But let's see if you can, instead of thinking of it as work or this task that you need to do, think about it as breath play. So we're going to play around with this concept. And the reason why is because yawning and sighing is actually a natural response from your body. If you pay attention, or maybe one day, like maybe tomorrow, or for the next hour or two, you start to become more aware of your breath and notice how often you sigh and or yawn. Your body actually naturally does this about usually about like 12 times an hour, or maybe like once every 5 or so minutes. And what it's doing is it is doubling down on the amount of oxygen coming into your lungs. So whenever you're yawning, you actually inhale twice as much air as you would for a normal breath. And this is like a breath that you're not actively controlling. You're not like slowing down and counting to 5 or something like we've been doing, just a normal breath. And also when you sigh, you tend to exhale for twice as long as a normal exhale. And the body does this in order to condition your lungs and keep them healthy. And also it's really great for re-energizing the body. So that's why when you're tired, you'll notice that you're yawning, because your body is actually trying to give you more energy to stay awake if you're trying to fight the feeling of being tired. Same with sighing. When you sigh, there's this connotation of, oh, I'm bored or I'm tired. And the reason that you sigh is to let go of some of that tension. So today we are going to work with our body, work with nature, and kind of double down on it. And we are going to harness the natural energy of sighing and yawning in breath work. So we're going to spend the next 5 minutes doing this. And while you do this, you can be moving. You can, or you can just sit in place, or you can just lay in place, you can really do anything you want here as long as you are I mean, you don't have to force it, but as long as you are trying to engage with the act of sighing and yawning. So let's start off with sighing first. And just try it out. Just start to, if you want to, you can close your eyes. Take a really normal, nice inhale. And exhale out of the mouth. Think about one thing that maybe was stressful today, or maybe you're happy that you got it over with, or if you had a perfectly amazing day, then you can still do it anyways. Think about maybe a physical tension in your body. Maybe your shoulders are sore. Maybe you notice your jaw is clenching. When you exhale, think about letting that go. All right, keep going in your own time. Take whatever normal inhale you want. And anytime you exhale, sigh it out. Make some noise. And if you're feeling stuck on that concept, then I do want you to exaggerate the sigh. Really allow yourself the freedom to make some noise, to be loud, to take up space. Every single time you sigh, think about letting go of some type of tension in the body. Maybe you drop your shoulders down. Maybe you relax your neck. Maybe you relax your throat, or any other part of your body that feels sore or tense or closed up. All right, keep going. I want to give you guys an image. And I know that we are all, for the most part, cat lovers, or maybe just animal lovers in general. But if you actually, if you're not a cat person, then I want you to think about what a cat or a dog does when they are stretching, or when they're yawning. If you've ever seen a cat or a dog yawn, they really, really exaggerate and open their mouth wide. They send their arms out long, and they do this thing called pandiculation. And it sounds like a big fancy word, but all it means is you are stretching and contracting the muscles at the same time. Contracting really with force while you're stretching. And that is known as pandiculation. So if you've ever seen a cat or a dog when they're stretching, they'll go like this. Maybe they stretch their back leg, go like that, and they try to reach it up. If you can, and if it feels good for your body today, I invite you to, as you continue with this breathing and sighing, to maybe work with this concept of pandiculation. Think about your favorite animal and what they look like when they are stretching, when they've just woken up from a nap and they're waking the body up. And if you feel like you're doing some really weird stuff, then you're probably doing this right. Not that there's a right or wrong way to do it, but if you feel like, man, I really hope there's nobody else in this room looking at me right now, that's probably a good feeling. It's probably a good thing. Probably means you're really getting into it and allowing yourself the freedom to play and to have fun and to really engage with this breath exercise. So keep going. Keep letting your day melt away, sending away any mental stress, letting your mind come to a more peaceful, restful state. And same with the body. All right, keep going with your sighs and with this concept of writhing or really strong, controlled, isometric stretching, pandiculation. And I want to now introduce our second part of the breath work, which is yawning. And you may have already started to yawn if you've been doing all of this sighing. That's a pretty natural response of the body to do both, to get the benefit of both an exaggerated long inhale and an exaggerated long exhale. But if you haven't been able to yawn yet or haven't felt the urge, let's go ahead and see if we can trigger a yawn. So the way to trigger a yawn is start to wiggle your jaw. So you're gonna want your mouth to be kind of open. And then start to just bring awareness to the upper part of your throat, maybe even to the roof of your mouth, and even let your tongue kind of wiggle around as you wiggle your jaw. By doing this, you should be able to deliberately activate your yawning reflex. And sometimes it takes a little bit of practice. Sometimes you don't get it right away. But just imagine, just like anything else, we've all yawned before. And so imagine that you could induce a yawn. Same concept as like, okay, I can't sneeze right now, but if I wanted to sneeze, I'd probably do something like this. Right? So you can kind of mimic based on what your muscle memory remembers about a yawn, how to do a yawn, and you actually do have a yawning reflex that should take over eventually if you do the beginning parts of that action. So keep sighing, and in your own time, start to wiggle your jaw loose. Think about the upper part of your throat and see if you can get yourself to yawn. If you can do that, see if you can keep on going, if you can repeat that action and keep yawning. And when you start to notice the reflex kicking in, when you start to notice your yawn happening, see if you can harness that action and take in as much air as possible. Inhale as deeply as you can, and you might notice that you can get a bigger inhale, more oxygen capacity in your lungs by doing this. And starting off with that extra amount of oxygen means you can also exhale and sigh even longer. So you can let go of that tension even more. You can stretch and pandiculate and writhe even more. Okay, so I know I talk a lot and I don't actually do the thing, but hopefully the cues are working for you in your breathwork practice. Let's do like one more minute of whatever sighing, yawning combination you want to do, writhing, stillness, lying down, sitting down. Let's just enjoy one more minute of this time that we can take for ourselves to play, to acknowledge our breath and our body. Oh. All right, guys. Hopefully you're feeling pretty refreshed, pretty playful or loose, or maybe even childish. That's all good. Anything that happened is good. Just the fact that you even brought your awareness towards your breath is the beginning of breath work. So whatever happened there is wonderful, and we'll work with that again because that one's a really fun breathwork technique. So let's start moving into some yin practice. And actually today's yin practice is going to be a little bit different. It's going to incorporate some concepts of somatic body work. And so for most yin practices, you come into a posture and then you strive for a sense of stillness in order to activate your deeper tissues and actually stretch your joints. We are going to do that, but we're going to allow for some movement in the beginning when we're coming in to the posture. So just follow along and go at your own pace. Listen to your body if you ever need any modifications, any props. And again, for yin, with me at least, you can always do yin on a bed. I like to do that because there's just so much cushion. You really reduce the amount of times you need to like adjust for a prop. But you can do this on a mat, on the floor, of course, anywhere that feels good for your body. Oh my gosh, let's make sure my jump is not in the frame. The laundry day was yesterday and I did not fold everything yet. Why don't you do that? Okay. All right, guys. So before we even come to any posture, I want you to come into a seated position. And it doesn't have to be the same one that I'm doing. Actually, without looking at me, possibly, unless you're looking at me right now, close your eyes very gently and visualize what your body looks like in space right now. And so where are your legs? Are they crossed? Are they straight and extended in front of you like a forward fold? Are you perhaps kneeling with your knees bent and your calves and shins against the floor? Maybe you have more of a windshield wiper stance where your feet are planted on the ground and your butt is connected to the floor. And before we even move, I want you to ask yourself, when you got into that seated position, why did you choose to get into that position in the first place? The particular position of your body that you chose. Is there a reason at all that you chose that one in particular? And just asking these questions and coming up with answers without judgment, without the need to force an answer. Maybe there isn't one. And starting to bring awareness to why we do the things we do with our body. Do we have awareness over it? Is it subconscious? Is there an underlying reason? Maybe tension in the body. Now, if you can, see if you can keep your eyes closed as we move into our next position. And so ensure that you're moving really, really slowly. Stay connected with your breath. Use it as an anchor to stay in the present moment for the next 30 minutes. Very slowly, find your way onto a position where you're lying on your back. And as you're making this transition, as you move to come to lie flat on your back, again, question, how did you choose to come from a seated position to a supine position? What exactly did you do? Did you lean over to one side? Did you fall straight back, perhaps rolling down the spine onto your back? Did you use anything, any body parts to help you? Maybe using your hands to push and slow down the descent of your body into the ground? And did you hold on to your shins or your legs if you rolled down? And if you can identify how you made that transition, ask yourself if there is a why, a reason why you did it that way. And if there's not a reason, then just be aware of how you chose to move your body. And again, noticing these things without any judgment. Everything you're doing is fine. Hug your knees into place. Or hug your knees into your chest. And you can hold onto the shins and cross your arms and hold them at the elbows. Or you can maybe hold onto the backs of your thighs, your hamstrings. And push down on your hands with your calves. We're going to hold this position for several minutes. So ensure that you're really comfortable here. And again, I want you to notice what happened when you made the transition from lying on your back to hugging your knees into your chest. How are you choosing to use your arms? What other parts of your body do you notice are tensing or working to hold this position? Is there anywhere in your body that you can relax? Maybe allow your shoulders to sink heavier into the ground beneath you. Maybe you unclench your jaw. Relax the muscles in your face, your cheekbones, your tongue, your eyelids. And bring your awareness again back to your breath. Without the need to change your breath in any way. Just notice your natural breath. Resist the urge to control it. Notice how your body is choosing to breathe for you in this moment. Reconnect again with your breath. Notice where you feel it in your body. Where does it go when you inhale? What moves and changes when you exhale? Now, very slowly, I want you to come back into the seated position you started in. And I want you to think about how you are getting back to that position. Move really slowly and ask yourself, how can I make this even easier? What can I do to come from a position where I'm lying down to a seated position using the least amount of energy possible, making it as easy as possible. You can keep your eyes closed or you can keep them open. And once you're back in that original seated position, you want to do this one more time with awareness. And then we'll move into a different posture at the end. So starting off in your original seated position, ask yourself, what can I do to make it so easy, easiest way I can get from this point, seated, to a position where I'm lying on my back. Maybe you follow the same pathway you did the first time, or maybe you change it up. But really ask yourself, every body is going to be different. What can you do for your body to make this transition the easiest, the least amount of energy, the least amount of effort? Maybe if it helps you diagnose this, if it helps you feel out the different ways you can come down, you can stop halfway through and come back up and adjust. You can play around with it here. What happens when you lean your head in a different direction? What happens when you lean it forwards? When you lean it to the side? And then you lean it backwards? Does it change the amount of energy, the amount of effort it takes to go from point A to point B? Allow yourself to be curious. See this moment as an opportunity to learn about your own body. Maybe you use momentum. Maybe you use gravity. And take any last moments you need. And again, come to that position where you're lying on your back. And plant both of your feet on the ground so your knees are bent. And cross your right ankle over top of your left knee. Let your right knee turn out. And we'll just do a reclining pigeon pose or eye of the needle. Stretching out the hip here. If this is enough, you can stay here. If you need more, you can begin to lift your left foot off the ground. Maybe you interlace your fingers and hold on to your left shin or your left hamstring. And get your shin closer to your chest, feeling a nice, comfortable, relaxed stretch in your right hip. And from here, ask yourself, where in your body are you holding, clenching, gripping? And where can you let go? And if you've identified any areas that feel tense, send your breath to those areas. Nice relaxing inhale. Breathe into that tension, into that space. And exhale, release tension, release toxin. Surrender any nagging or limiting thoughts. And very slowly return to your feet both planted on the ground. Let go of your shins or your hamstrings. And let your knees fall from one side to the other. Gentle windshield wipering of the legs. And let's go ahead and place our left ankle over top of our right knee. Turn your left knee out. Flexor point your left foot. Stay here or hug your left shin in closer towards your chest. And again, ask yourself, where can you let go? Where are you feeling tension? And can you send your breath to those areas? Maybe open them up, give them more space. Release some of that tension. Relax your jaw again. Relax the muscles in your face, your eyebrows, your eyelids, your throat. And can you, for your next full inhale, full exhale, just notice the breath fully. Where does the breath go when you inhale? What moves or changes when you exhale? And very slowly release any grips of your hands. Allow both of your feet to come back to the ground. And again, allow your knees to fall from one side to the other. And instead of controlling this fall, just let gravity pull your knees down. And so you're again You're using the least amount of energy possible. Take some energy to bring the knees back up. When they're falling, just let them fall. And you'll notice when you let gravity take over, when you totally release control of the muscles. You might even shake a little as your knees connect with the ground. Come back to neutral and come back once more to your original seated position. But before you do, I want you to go to the other side. If you went down one side, for example, if you started in a seated position and you leaned towards the right and then rolled onto your back, then this time when you come up, lean towards your left and roll to come up. If you went from a seated position to lying on your back by rolling down, then again, I just want you to explore how you can make this transition using the least amount of energy and effort possible. So no matter what you're choosing to do, whether you're going left or going right or going through the middle, or maybe using momentum, I want you to be really aware of how you're choosing to come from a position where you're lying down to seated and upright. I want you to try to do this slowly and notice if there is an easier way. What can you do? Can you use your hands? Can you curl up into a really small ball? Can you use gravity? How about changing the positioning of your head? Maybe changing the positioning of your legs or your feet? And if you made it up into your seated position, again, notice what your body did, how you chose to enter those positions, where you were using energy, and if there was a way that you could have used even less effort. Is there a way? Is it possible? From here, slowly move into our last pose for today. And it's not going to be Shavasana. We're just going to do a quick and nice child's pose. Take whatever variation you like, wide-legged, normal, maybe closed, like kneeling. While you're in your child's pose, see if there's a way you can relax your head and neck completely. Maybe you can use a pillow or a block, or make a rest with your hands and arms. Allow your head to be heavy into the ground. And let's see if we can connect to a feeling of gratitude to end our practice today. Imagine a person that at some point brought you a sense of gratitude, of happiness, someone that you cherish, someone that you love. Or maybe it was just someone who did something nice for you one time. A teacher, a stranger who opened the door, held the elevator. Picture any person, object, animal, friend, or moment that allows you to connect with a feeling of gratitude. And breathe into this feeling. As you inhale, imagine that you can expand this feeling of gratitude, and so that this feeling is growing inside you deeper, stronger. And when you exhale, imagine that you can send this feeling of gratitude all throughout your room. As if each air molecule in the room around you was also carrying a little nugget of gratitude. So that each and every inhale you take, you're absorbing some of this energy, you're embodying some of this energy, and you're contributing to some of this energy. But you're both giving and taking into this space. And when you're ready, you can slowly start to come out of your child's pose. As you're doing this again, I want you to just ask yourself, what are you actually doing? What are you using? What are you perhaps resisting against to come out of this pose? What is your body doing? And is there a way that you can make that motion even more effortless? All right, guys. I have my music stopped. I have a little quote for us to end our practice. And this is from James Clear. He's the author of Atomic Habits. He has a newsletter every Thursday he sends out. Just a really nice email. It has like 3 different really nice quotes from him, 2 quotes from 2 other people, anybody that he finds influential or has something positive to say, and then something for contemplation. So one of the quotes he sent out was, "When working with people, assume good intentions. When listening to people, interpret their words in a generous way. You will occasionally get burned and mistreated by always assuming the best in others, but it is a far better way to live than the opposite." So I thought that was in tune with our practice of gratitude. And I hope you guys really enjoyed practice today, or everything. All of those questions during yin, I hope it wasn't distracting. I thought it would be a good segue to incorporate both yin and somatic body work. So somatic body work really encompasses a lot, but in terms of what today's class was, it was just the very basics of understanding why and how we're using our body the way that we do, and seeing if there are more energy efficient ways to use our body to do the same action or to end up at the same goal, starting from seated to lying down to getting back up to seated, to identify what our current patterns are, diagnosing your body, learning about your body, and then seeing if there's a way to make those actions even more effortless. If there's a way we can change our current, perhaps subconscious patterns into more energy efficient ways, more longevity ways, so ways that perhaps will be more sustainable for us in the long run. And yeah, we can keep working on any and all things. I will see you guys soon. Thanks.